Good morning, my name's Kerry Duval. Welcome to An Audience with the Queen. I've got another amazing guest waiting. See you in a minute. Good morning, Kim, or should I say good evening because you're in Australia?
Correct. Hi, Kerry. How are you tonight?
I'm all right, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Excited to be here.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining my Audience with the Queen, and welcome to Warrior TV.
Thank you.
So obviously today we're going to talk all about you. So I'm going to jump straight in. Who is Kim?
Oh, goodness. That's a big question. I suppose if you look in regular sort of terms, you know, I'm a 60-year-old woman. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. I'm a daughter. I'm a sister, and all of that sort of stuff. I love creativity. Sorry, there's a big mosquito just flying past. I've just started to learn to surf. There's my foamy, my beginner surfboard in the background. I love to do artwork. And, you know, I've had a very colourful life. I did not follow the regular path that society tells us that we should do. So it's been very interesting.
Yeah. So take us back to the very beginning. So what was school life like for you growing up?
Okay, so I'm the firstborn of 4 girls to teenage parents. So I was born on the 15th of January, and on the 25th of January, my mum turned 18. So, so I was essentially raised by teenagers. School, I was, a quiet achiever. I was, thrown into leadership positions, and I always wondered why. I was school captain in primary school, and it's like, why me? I'm not a popular. I'm just that quiet sort of achiever in the background. It's bullied a little bit for being, tall and skinny, and sometimes, for being a little bit smart. High school, did okay. Felt like the odd one out. Come year 10, I don't really know what happened, but I really started to disengage. And, but I always loved, I was, quite sporty, and I was, in the scouting movement. So, I used to go abseiling, caving, and do a whole lot of really adventurous things.
So after school, so you've been through all this scouting and school. So after school, what was life like then?
Well, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to be a secretary. And I was really quite lost. Looking back at it now, I'd learned how to do and be really capable and look really confident doing things. But emotionally, I was just absent. There was just nothing there. I was actually quite shy, quite petrified to talk to boys in particular. And so after school, I just fell into nursing. So I started to learn to be a nurse. And in those days, you're actually trained in the hospital. You do 8 weeks block of learning, and then you'd be thrown on the wards. I did that for 13 months, and there was a situation there that I went, I'm out of here. I didn't like the hierarchy and sort of being the person in the sandwich between ridiculous rules and things. So I left. I bought myself a camper van, went traveling, worked for a season at the snow, picked fruit, and then just bummed around for a bit. What happened after that? Went to New Zealand. I fell into hospitality, sales, came back to Australia. I was dabbling in drugs at that stage, ended up with a full-blown heroin addiction, went into rehab, and then, numerous other careers. There's lots of things.
Before we come into all the drug addiction and the mental health side of things, what was your favourite place to travel to when you did do your travelling?
So my favourite place in the early days, I didn't really get too far. There was just a little bit around Australia. Then I went to New Zealand, and that was really fabulous. I was up in the Bay of Islands, sort of, in the sun and on the ocean, scuba diving and that sort of stuff. And then I was in Mount Cook, which was absolutely stunning, and also in Queenstown. And then, because of life circumstances, having a child, all the travelling went out the window. But in the last probably 10 years, my income was okay, so I was able to travel. So into India, Thailand, Bali, but I absolutely love Africa. So I've been to Kenya, Tanzania, Zanzibar. I did another trip to Rwanda and the Congo, and I'm planning to go back to Kenya in November, all going well. So that's exciting.
So what is it about Africa that makes it your favourite place?
I've
never been, so.
I don't know, stepping off the plane, I just had this sense in my body that I was at home. I think it's the rawness, the colours, just the land, and I just absolutely love being on safari, in one of those vehicles and they head out the top, sort of, spotting, looking for lions or zebras or giraffes or whatever, and then just watching them do their thing. I know the landscape's really remarkable, and just the people themselves, they have so little, but it's just all so colourful and so vibrant.
Cool. Have you seen any lions?
Yeah. One of the safaris we went, and the tour guides, they know where the different lions hang out. We went to a place where the lions were only like a metre away from us. It was a female lion, and amongst the rocks there was like 4 little cubs. They were a week old or something. But here we are in a safari vehicle, just like a Jeep with open sides, and the lion's not too far away. So
yeah, I bet that was amazing. I mean, I'm a cat lover, so lions and tigers, I mean, my husband disagrees, but to me, a lion or a tiger, they're just overgrown kittens. They just want to play.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I really love the cheetahs. The cheetahs.
They are good.
Yeah.
So going away from all that, so, I mean, we can sit here and talk about all that, lions and tigers and your safari adventures all day. But we're not here to talk about that. Yeah. We're here to talk about mental health. So when you got into your drug addiction, so what triggered that?
So I suppose it started off with just recreational use of, smoking pot, sort of just being a part of, the group that I was hanging around with. And just over time, it escalated. I suppose the opportunity of other drugs was there. So I suppose it was speed and LSD, and eventually the heroin was around. And I think because I was at the time, I don't know, I was just going with the flow with what was happening. But now in hindsight, I look at it, I think it was all my, wanting to belong somewhere. So, and in the end, it was all happening around me, and it was like, if I can't beat them, I'll just join them. I suppose I wouldn't, have been the typical sort of drug user. I still had a job. I still maintained, work and normal sort of behaviours. But, I was using heroin.
Yeah. So you would definitely say that it was sort of because you didn't want to be seen as the odd one out. You wanted to do it to fit in and be like everybody else. So it was like a peer pressure sort of thing.
There was no real pressure. I know it's one of those things that I've pondered a lot, but I think just because of my own lack of emotional intelligence, I just didn't know what to do. I didn't have any close bonds with my parents to be able to go to them and ask for help, and and just sort of how I grew up with being independent. I didn't trust people. So I suppose I just didn't know what to do, so I just resorted to what was in front of me.
Yeah, so obviously it started off as recreational things, going into the heavier sort of drugs. Yeah. So how long did that last?
I was using only, not too much, for I think about 2 years, 2.5 years, and then I became pregnant, which I did a geographical, left Sydney, went to somewhere, to a country location where there shouldn't have been drugs, but I was there with my partner. Of course, we found them, and I dabbled for a bit, and then had my baby, and I still dabbled for a little bit, and then it was like, okay, that's it. I can't do this, and that's when I ended up going to residential rehab.
Yeah. So going through your drug addiction days, did you suffer any other mental health difficulties? So like anxiety, depression, things like that?
Nothing that was diagnosed or I actually identified as. But once again, because I didn't have that emotional awareness, and I didn't know that world, because on the outside I was functioning normally. I was holding a job. I could do it. It wasn't getting in the way of all of that sort of functioning. But now, with what I've learned since, I can see that I was definitely had anxiety, and there was definitely areas of depression. Mm-hmm. And I now realize too that the addiction was probably a self-harming type of thing, because I just remembered the other day that when I pierced my ears, I actually did it myself with a matchbox and ice and a needle, and I was really angry. So I was like, okay, that was actually a self-harming strategy. But I didn't have this whole awareness around mental health to be able to name it or anything like that, because on the surface, on the outside, I was really confident and competent.
Yeah. So you was wearing a mask. So inside there was a part that was screaming out for help, but on the outside it was that none of that's happening. I'm a confident person. So potentially you was wearing a mask all through those days.
Oh, absolutely. Mask, armor, the whole lot.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised how many people out there that use drugs away from everything else that's going on in their life, like home life and work life and that sort of thing. Do that. So they'll hide the fact that they're taking drugs to cope because they've got that mask on. That's their little coping technique behind everything. So they'll use whatever drug they're using at that time to sort of cope through. So your drug addiction, it was like your coping technique through all those times.
Absolutely. And what I've learned, since is that I know that the information about drugs, it's usually been, oh, it's a drug, it hooks in you, and it's all about that. But it's not. At that first point of time, drugs are actually a solution to a problem. It's like alcohol. They say you get Dutch courage. You take the alcohol to feel confident to be yourself, or to be more out there. I can see that because the heroin and the pot is like a depressant. It was helping with the anxiety. It was making you not feel so inside. It was helping to comfort that at the time.
Yeah. They counteract the effects of the anxiety, and then it's people get fixed onto that fix. So hang on a minute, I take this, the anxiety goes away. Well, I'm going to carry on taking it, and then they have to go to worse drugs to get bigger fixes, because obviously it's all temporary thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is that it's not just the illicit drugs, it's the alcohol, it's the cigarettes, it's the prescription drugs that people use, but then there's also the food, the gambling, addiction to stress, work. I really believe that everybody's addicted to something.
Yeah.
And whether it really gets in the way of life, that can sort of vary. But there's so many things that people are addicted to. And even for me, I believe, a lot of people are addicted to a complacency and mediocrity. Because this is comfortable. I'd really like to do this, but I'll just stay here rather than taking the risk to be able to, strive for something bigger.
Yeah, exactly. So when it came to that moment where you'd had your child and you said, right, this has got to stop. So talk us through that process. So what happened in those days or that week to make you say, right, this is enough, I need to change?
Yeah. part of it was that my partner, I discovered, was doing a bit of crime. So he'd been arrested and he was given the ultimatum, jail time or go to a rehab. So we went to a rehab as a family. Wasn't long, he was there and he took off, but I decided that was it. And I just, stayed at the rehab I was there for 18 months, went through the full program, graduated, and then I ended up actually being on staff.
Yeah. So talk us through your rehab process, because that must have been a difficult process, especially being a mother as well.
Yeah, well, it was the Odyssey House program, which is developed, started off in the States in those days, because that was in 1989. Very punitive sort of thing. So it's a 4-level system. You go in at level 1, where you're really you're stripped of everything, all your belongings. You're only responsible for yourself, and you've got different levels of responsibilities. But and it was sort of really quite, I suppose, it was quite confronting being there, particularly with a 5-month-old baby. But they had a particular parenting program, so that we were supported to do that as well. And I just sort of went, okay, I'm here, I'll just do whatever I've got to do. So the first few weeks were pretty hectic, sort of getting used to what was going on. The cold turkey withdrawals from the drugs. There was group work and just contribution to around the house, as they called it. And and so just gradually I learned a bit more about myself, and got rid of the physical addiction. But then it's about looking at what's inside, and that was a bit more tricky.
What would you say was the lowest point through your rehab?
The lowest point, I don't know. It's funny. It's sort of there's nothing that really stands out. I suppose I was just there to do what I needed to do for myself, and to give my daughter a proper mum. So it was just going through that. I suppose maybe it was confronting myself and learning how to get in touch with emotions, because I cried a lot.
Yeah. So would you say that your daughter was your biggest reason for fighting through rehab and changing your life?
Yeah, for sure. But it's not something that I was consciously aware of. I don't know. Sometimes I look back at my life and sort of wonder how I ended up where I did, because a lot of it I just sort of went, oh, this seems like a good idea, let's go do it. There was no sitting down and planning, this is how I'm going to do my life. I sort of just, now I see it as sort of intuitively just following what my heart wanted, even though I didn't really know what that was.
Yeah.
And now sort of in the biggest scheme of things, if you want to go into the spiritual space, I feel that part of my purpose on this planet is to experience. So then I can teach and inspire, because, reading about addiction in a book is a hell of a lot different to actually, being in amongst it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like what I was saying before we came live. 2 years ago, when we started the Mental Health Warriors, well, just over 2 years ago, actually, me and Adam didn't have any mental health credentials, but we'd had the experience. We'd been through just about everything there is around mental health experience-wise. So we'd both hit rock bottom and attempted suicide, and we'd both gone through the long journey of getting back to the point where we wanted to talk to somebody about it and share our journey to see what other people had been through. And when we started to do that through the Warriors, we quickly found that lots of people had been through very, very similar things to us. And the more we went through the Warriors and going through mental health credentials, the more connections we've had, the bigger audiences we've had. And now we've got our own community now, where me and Adam have completed our mental health credentials, so we can both help people professionally and on a personal basis as well.
Well done, congratulations.
Yeah. So the last 2.5 years have been massive for me and Adam. And through the Warriors as well, we can actually see ourselves growing through the videos.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah, I mean, I look back at the first ever video and I'm gone and I cringe and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, I know that
Is
feeling.
that really me?
Yeah. But you did it, and that's a huge achievement to actually get out there and put your face, in the videos, as not just doing that, but hosting it, and just the vulnerability and courage. It's amazing.
Yeah, and at one point, I mean, I hated the camera. So stepping in front of a camera and starting to share my own journey, it took I think a few videos, doing a few videos to actually start talking about me. I'm more focused on the person I was talking to at the time.
Got it. Yep.
Really open up about me. But after a few videos, I started opening up about me. That vulnerability came out, and I will say after the video, my anxiety went like that. And I was like, oh my God, that's out there now. Someone's going to judge me. And I've not had any judgment. In the whole 2.5 years I've been doing it, I haven't had any judgment. There's been nothing negative. And I love that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, yeah, all right, mental health isn't the best place, but I think when you get through the bad days and you come into the recovery side and rebuilding your life, it's the bestest place to be, and it has the greatest, loveliest people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there is, and there's obviously a lot more people out there to meet.
Yeah, absolutely. And the prevalence of mental health, people struggling with it is just absolutely huge.
Yeah,
I've recently did a mental health first aid course. I've trained with Lifeline. I don't know if you have something like Lifeline over in the UK.
that's where me and Adam started. So doing mental health first aid, that's like the starting point when me and Adam started, and then we built up on that.
Yeah. So I'm on the phones for Lifeline, but I've also done I'm a life coach, so I've got a lot of coaching skills, plus sort of just the other bits and pieces around addiction and just anything about trauma. I just go down these rabbit holes to learn things.
Yeah, there is a lot to learn. I mean, one thing that has always been apparent is mental health isn't a one-size-fits-all. So some people have good experience with some things. Some people have a bad experience with it. It's finding what works for that individual.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what did you find worked for you? So coming out of rehab and restarting to rebuild your life, what worked for you?
It's been a really slow process. So, I mean, I was lucky at the end of rehab, I ended up actually working for the program. So, and then after that, I worked for in youth work and other sort of support services, going into youth refuges, doing actually a drug and alcohol based programs. So it was about just gradually learning to trust at least one person to be able to then open up and share share what was going on inside, actually finding the words to what I was feeling, because that was a big thing. I didn't have the language around my feelings, but the main thing was just to find somebody that I felt safe with and could trust, to be able to share, who was going to be non-judgmental. And over the years, I've just sort of gradually built up those skills, and learned to be able to connect with my feelings and express them.
Yeah, so it's very much what we've been through. So we've learned how to connect with our emotions, how to understand what we're feeling, how to deal with what we're feeling, and not go back down to that point where we're looking for a coping mechanism that is a negative. So all the coping mechanisms we have at the moment are all positive to us. There's nothing negative. I mean, obviously, negativity will always find a way into your life somehow, but it's knowing how to cope with it in a positive way.
Yeah, and the first thing is just having that level of awareness, and that's what I'm finding a lot, is that people don't have a level of awareness of of things. They can see it in other people, but they can't see it in themselves. Or if if a bit of stress or anxiety comes up, they just they feel it and then either just push it away or push it out or start bullying themselves judging themselves, rather than, for me, my strategy is like, oh, that's interesting. And I get curious, what is that feeling? What's behind that feeling? What am I getting? What am I not getting? What would I rather have? And, how do I move through this?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I've started doing recently is journaling. So I bought an anxiety journal, and I thought, you know what? I seen it, and I thought, I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to have a go at it. I'm going to give it a try. It's not something I've ever tried before. And I found that writing down, I mean, it asks me how I felt that day. It asks me what's gone well that day, if my anxiety is triggered or anything like that. And I have to sit there and I have to think about my day, and I'm thinking, yeah, I've actually been triggered today, and it was that triggered me. But today I've had a really, really good day, and I have got one really, really good day where I had no anxiety at all, and I was able to put that I was happy and calm, and I had no anxiety at all that day. And I look at that day and I think, I want that all the time. So what do I have to do to get to that all the time, where I'm in a space where mental health just doesn't bug me anymore? I mean, obviously I'll never 100% get rid of it, but to be able to get back to a place where the anxiety isn't me, and I am above my anxiety, I want to get back to that place, because I've set that as my goal. I don't have a time limit on it because I don't know how long it's going to take, but setting that goal for me is a really important step for me. So maybe if anybody is listening, that can be an important step for you. So have a look on Etsy for anxiety journal. Give it a try.
Yeah, journaling's a great process. I've got a whole suite of things that I use depending on what's going on where I am. Journaling's one of them. I have art processes where I sort of, I meditate and sort of, have a feeling, give that feeling a shape and color, and draw it, and that painting out that way. At the back there was some imagery that came through when I was tuning into compassion. I've got a whole lot of different meditative processes, from guided meditations to just sitting there and being quiet. There's chanting. There's just so many different tools that I have depending on where I am and what I'm doing. And the main thing is, as you just said, with that journaling, that you sit and reflect, and you actually that whole self-awareness that's where it's all starts. Is feeling it, recognizing it, naming it, and then understanding it, and moving beyond it.
Yeah. So do you find that you have a different technique for the different ways you're feeling? So if you're feeling particularly rubbish, you'll have one method to ultimately go to, and then if you're just feeling a little bit rubbish, you'll have another method to go to?
Sometimes it depends on how much time I've got, where I am. There's definitely the maintenance things. So I live very close to the beach, so going for a beach walk is important. Sometimes if I've got more time, I'll just actually sit there and meditate and connect with the elements and nature, and just listen to the sounds of the water, and you're feeling the sand. All those tactile things are really important. Sometimes it's actually going out into the ocean, the surfing, or going to the bush. Or if I'm in the middle of, like today, I actually went to a doctor's appointment with my sister, and I had a bit of an altercation with the hospital system. And it was like, okay, I'm here, I'm sitting there focusing on my breath, doing my tactile things, for 5 minutes in the waiting room, just to ground myself. And the important thing is that you don't only use your tools to be, when you're triggered. It's about training your mind and your body to be able to be in that space as much as you can. And it's mental fitness. You've got to train your muscle to be able to initiate the relaxation response. And train it to be able to respond really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I probably need to use my tools going near a hospital, because I don't like hospitals.
Yeah.
And I'm one of these, I can't listen to the sea because it always makes me think about sharks, and I don't like sharks.
Fair enough.
Or that, again, so that works for you, doesn't work for me.
Absolutely. And that's the important thing, because there's some sort of there's some schools of thought around meditation. You've got to do it this time, you've got to do it for an hour, you've got to sit still, you've got to have all sage and crystals and chants and mantras and mudras and all sorts of stuff.
It's not that at all.
It's about figuring out what works for you, when it works, and doing that. And it could be it could be just running. There's you don't have to be sitting still. It's about, figuring out what works for you to be able to bring you back to that grounded space and doing that.
Yeah, even if it's just going and sit on your bed or lying down on your bed, as I do. I lie down on my bed, close my bedroom door, ignore my phone, whatever, and just focus on my breathing. And for 5-10 minutes, that works for me. And I don't have crystals. Well, we do have crystals in the bedroom, but I don't have them next to me. We've got them on our sill, so they're there. They're there all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm in that space. The crystals are there, obviously, but it's not about burning sage or doing any chants or anything like that. It's finding what works for you. So lying down, sitting down if you feel more comfortable sitting down, and focusing on your breathing. It's as easy that anybody can do it. And again, it doesn't work for everybody.
No, and breathe. I mean, you've always got your breath with you, so that's one thing that is failed. You can do that anywhere, anytime, and nobody would even notice that something might be going on inside while you're gathering yourself before you go into a meeting or during a meeting or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a really powerful tool.
Yeah. So going back to you, Elevate Your Results, your book. Tell us all about.
Yeah, so it's actually a collaborative book. I've got a chapter in it. So it's a different, some peers of mine who are all coaches who have got their own, specific, thing that they focus on. And for me, it's really about learning to be able to get your results without the stress. Ultimately, it's about, it's about learning about stress, learning how to manage it, then reduce it, and then prevent it. And so my chapter is just some strategies around that, as well as telling my story as to how I got to where I am now.
Yeah, and I've got to touch on it because obviously this is an audience with a queen, and we put it in the title, A Tale of Two Queens. So Queen of Calm. So where did that come about from?
Actually, when I was on treat in Africa, there was 16 of us, and I don't know, somebody said, "You're the Queen of Calm." It's sort of my superpower. It doesn't matter what can be going on. I now can sort of look and be the calm in the storm or calm in the chaos, and just do what needs to be done to be able to get through that moment. And sometimes it's that, and then once everything's sorted out, that's when when the adrenaline sort of pops in, and I have a bit of a moment and have to catch my breath. But I suppose just through my practices and all the mindset work I've done, not being judgmental, and being able to accept people for who they are and all the stories, and just having that calmness about me. People trust me very quickly. I don't know how many times I've just met somebody and they'll tell me stuff and they says, "I don't know why I'm telling you this. I've never told anybody this. And, I've met this guy, this person, 10 minutes ago." So, it's just a nickname or a name that somebody crowned me, in one of the spaces. Yeah,
and while you were talking, a saying come to mind. So don't be afraid of the storm because you are that storm. And it's a saying that I've read somewhere and I can't remember where I've read it. It'll probably come to me after.
Yeah.
But and they come to me and it was like, we are the storms in our own life because we don't have to fear the storms we're going through because we are the storm. So, and another saying just popped into my head as well. From our former warrior, Kerry, we have to go through shit to grow. So I've been through my own shit, you've been through your own shit, and you've grown into who you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. And people say, "Oh, it's so life's so hard, it's so challenging," but they're just words, and it's about the meaning you attach to it. Now, I went through a process where I realized that every challenge is actually an opportunity. So, you find that opportunity, and it's an opportunity to learn or to grow. And as soon as you change the meaning of that word, I've got to the point, it's like, okay, well, things are getting tough. I'm ready to upgrade my software. I've got something to learn, something more to grow, and, embrace, okay, and look at it from a different angle. And just having that different intention changes your whole experience, and often it can even change the outcome.
Yeah. Yeah, so when you're going through those bad patches in your life, the universe is sending you a challenge because it's challenging you to grow into a person that you need to be for the next chapter of your life. Something
Yep.
exciting is coming, but you're not ready, so you have to go through that challenge in order to grow into the person you need to be for that next challenge, that chapter to come.
Yep. And we're never delivered anything that we don't have the resources to be able to get through, but it's up to us to, this is your mission if you choose to accept it.
Yeah, 7 style.
Yeah.
Have a little bit of humour. This is your mission. If you choose to accept it, challenge yourself to go through this storm and come out, and you've got something waiting at the end.
Yeah. And sometimes, I went through a shitty weekend. I just sort of, there was all these things I wanted to do, and it's just like, no, I'm just going to sit here on the lounge and mindlessly play some games on my phone. I'll just do that for a bit. Then I'd get up and it was like playing musical chairs. Then I started to cry and get upset, and it's like, oh, should I do this? And it's like, no. And I just sat in it and sort of just pondered what's going on. I said, I think I'm just sort of a bit exhausted. Just release it all. And decided that was it. Monday morning, I woke up and I was fine. It was like, okay, cool. That's what I just needed to do, was stop and just be.
Yeah, even I'm guilty of that. I mean, I sit here and I look at my decorating and I think, right, I need to get off my ass. I need to go and finish it. But I really want to, no, I'm going to get up and I'm going to be productive, finish my decorating. And now I've finished it all. Well, there's just like a little bit of touch-ups that need doing, but it'll take me about 10, 15 minutes to do. But now I can look at it and think, I've done it. I can be proud of myself. I've done it. I've finished, and it looks a lot nicer now.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think part of it too is your intuition as to, am I just procrastinating, or does my body need a rest? Because we're trained to do and achieve, and just got to keep on going and doing. Whereas we don't get taught how to be, and sometimes we do need to stop and just recharge our batteries.
Yeah.
And not beat ourselves up for it, because even when we're doing nothing, we're actually doing something. We're actually resting or recharging or reflecting. So got to stop that little bully in the head.
Exactly. So on a final note, what's next for Kim?
What's next for me? I'm looking at working on some group programs to cultivate calm. And just about change your thoughts, change your life, reset your mindset. So some group programs is that, and getting organised to go to Kenya. So go on safari again in November.
Very exciting then.
Yeah, it should be.
And of course, I've got you as a friend on Facebook now, so take some pictures of lions and tigers and tag me.
Absolutely, yeah. I do quite. Yeah, I do. I take a lot of people on the journey with me. My other trips, people say, "Oh, your stories are so good. I just feel like I'm there." So, you might get sick of them, but a lot of people.
As long as there's lots of pictures of lions and tigers, I'm there.
Okay, I'll do my best for you, Kerry, to get some lions and tigers. Do you like cheetahs as well? And there's some other
all cats. I love all cats.
Yeah, the leopards. Leopards, they're usually quite elusive, but they're around sometimes too.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely one of my life goals. Before I die, I want to play with a lion or a tiger, even if it's just a little baby one. They are just little cats, well, overgrown cats, should I say? I will do it at some point to prove a point to my husband that lions and tigers are just overgrown kittens. They just want to play.
Yeah.
When they roll over, scratch their bellies. We probably lose my hand, but I'm very fond of this hand as well.
It's probably a bit useful.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being an amazing guest. Please share this around your communities. Subscribe to us on YouTube and watch out for more videos. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Kerry. And if anybody wants a copy of my chapter in the book, connect through the tagging stuff. Yeah.
Where can people find your book as a last note?
At the moment, I think they're actually on Amazon or the usual sort of book places. The generic generic copy of the book, is on there.
So there you go. There you go. If you're interested, go and get yourself a copy on Amazon. Thanks, everybody. See you later.
Okay, thanks, Kerry.
Bye.
Bye.